Last weekend, I was invited to a friend's house for a get-together. As much as I wanted to go and as much as she wanted me to come, the basic structure of our house prevented me from enjoying and growing that friendship. Socialization is a basic human need, but as a person with a disability, the environment often prevents us from fully participating. There's a new concept that many states have adopted around the United States, and many disability advocates are encouraging their own states to adopt. And that concept is called visitability. On this episode, we're going to be talking about this concept, the pros and cons, and to help us do it, we have three people: architect Taylor Cockerham, community activist Mar Ortaleza, and disability advocate Chris Cholas. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Oh, good.
to be
Thank you.
Good. Okay, so we're going to just have an open conversation about the concept visitability and what that means for people with disabilities, what that means for up-and-coming developers and architects. So first of all, Chris, could you tell me a little bit about the concept visitability and what that means and how it's defined?
Yeah, it's important to know the distinction between a house that's visitable or has inclusive home design and a house that's fully accessible for someone that has a disability. Visitability would be certain features would allow a person, let's say like myself in a wheelchair, to enter that house and enjoy a socialization, as you mentioned earlier, and be able to use the bathroom. I wouldn't have to leave the house and go off somewhere to use the bathroom and then come back. So we're talking basically three main features in an inclusive home design of visitability. One is no-step entrance, a zero-step entrance, somewhere. It could be in the back, it can be in the front. It doesn't really matter where, but some entrance that has no stair. 32-inch wide doorways, hopefully throughout the house. And one half bath or full bath on the main floor that a wheelchair could access. Those are the three basic concepts that or features that we'd be looking at in a visitable home. Now, why? Well, think about how long a house exists. You know, it exists for, I'm in a house that's 30 years old. It's not fully accessible. That's not even visitable in some ways. And it's been there for 30 years. So when you build a house, you're looking at a house that's going to be there for the next half century maybe. How many people are going to be coming in and out of the house, using that house? Will it be sold? Will it become on the rental market? We don't know that how many people with disabilities will, over time, maybe want to visit that house for whatever reason. It could be you've got a home and you've got an ailing parent who has a stroke. Suddenly they're using a walker and they can barely get around. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, yeah, you can stay with us? You know. Temporary disabilities. I've had friends who have fallen off of ladders and suddenly they're in a wheelchair for a temporary period of time. But they have to actually move to a hotel while they're recuperating because they can't even stay in their own house. So there's a lot of reasons to have these features in a home. Mm-hmm. And it makes it easier for everyone. You're a mother with a baby or a father and you've got strollers. You don't have to be carrying that stroller up and down stairs. So it's not just for the person that has the disability. It's actually a nice feature for everyone.
And I tell people all the time, I think if our world was created accessible, everyone would be happy, because I brought up this earlier of if you're a woman and you go into a public restroom, most likely if you have a choice between a small restroom stall or the big handicap stall, you're going to choose the handicap stall. And so just because you don't feel so confined and it's just easier to move around, put your stuff down, and curb cuts. There's a lot of features that have been specific to people with disabilities, but before we know it, it's accessible for all people and everyone loves it. So as an architect, Taylor, how easy is it for someone to implement visitability into the new home?
Into the new home, it's very easy. Depending upon your site. Now here in Hawaii County, some of our sites are sloping very much. However, also when you consider how many new homes are designed to slab on grade, the assumption is the extra little bit of site work to make for an accessible entrance, a no-step entrance, is not really an extra cost. It's part of doing what you would consider standard site work, right? I'm trying to downplay the idea that there are huge extra costs for making your home visible when I don't think that's the correct way of looking at it. Making a bathroom a little bit larger than, say, a standard 5 by 8 bathroom, well, okay, now you're going to be adding about 18 inches by about 8 feet extra. You know, you might have an argument about the cost of that extra square feet. And making the doors wider, it's a non-issue. It's really a non-issue. So
I think we'd all like doors wider. You're carrying all your groceries in and
Pauline, right. When I'm carrying in my laundry or something like that, if the door is going to be narrow, I'm going to be running right into the corner. I mean, so it's really nice to have a 36-inch wide door.
Yeah.
Very, very pleasant amenity.
Yeah. And Mar, as a community activist, where do you see this fitting into just the, you know, how we interact with our community?
Well, I think it's important as a community activist, it's my kuleana to find ways to allow us individuals within a community to be productive and be happy. And I think visibility home is important to have to accomplish those two.
Yeah, I mean, I've had, and Chris, you probably are familiar with the feeling of wanting to go to a party, and you know, you have, and if the house is not accessible, you have two choices. You either don't go, or you go and everyone has to carry you up the stairs. And that can be nerve-wracking because physically it's like, oh, if someone slips, I'm putting a lot of trust into these strangers and they're lifting me into the house. And for me, my chair is a lot heavier than yours. So you have my weight on top of all the motors and everything and such on my wheelchair. And so it can be very scary, you know, if not embarrassing, because everyone's like stopping to like, oh, we need
and oftentimes if you are carried up a stair or your chair is lifted up and you get in the house, then there's the bathroom issue. If you're at a party, you're, you know,
right,
enjoying the food and the drink. And
right. Don't drink. Just sit there.
So are you going to, you know, leave the party early? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right.
Because,
yeah, I've had to do that too. I've had to leave early because I had to go to the bathroom and like, well, it's time for me to go. Literally.
Oh my goodness.
well, another case scenario would be if you're a parent and you have a child with a disability, or you have a child whose friend has a disability and wants to come over and play, and your house is not accessible.
Right.
So, or their house is not accessible if it's your child that's disabled.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I have a 6-year-old now, and he's been being invited to all these birthday parties. And I think they've actually not been invited to one because the parent was concerned I wouldn't be able to get in the house.
Exactly.
But the other parties that he's been invited to, I've had to call the parents and say, well, is it accessible? Because if it is, then I'll take him. If he can't, if it isn't, my husband will take him, you know. And it's great. Parents are so understanding, like, yeah, we're having it in the carport, we're having it in the, you know, the garage, it's no problem, you can get in. But again, I couldn't go to the bathroom if I was there. But yeah, so I mean, I understand that the visitability is a huge, it would be great and ideal for our society to have that, so that all people can be included and feel like they can just come over and hang out, watch a movie with a friend, go to a party, you know, have drinks, whatever it is. But at the same time, I know that there's some opposition that might arise, a resistance that might arise from those that might be required to fulfill quote-unquote visitability compliance. So so let me back up a little bit. I want to get an idea of what this means. So visitability is the concept. Is the disability community encouraging states to pass a bill, make this legal? What is the legalities of it?
Well, it takes different shapes in different places. Ideally, there are a few places, Pima County in Arizona, Tucson, there's a city in Illinois, that they have a county ordinance. It does have a waiver clause for special circumstances, but you build in, any new home has visitability built in. Those three things: no step entrance, 32-inch wide doorways, and an accessible bathroom on the main floor.
So does it?
So under that, there's been, like in Arizona, probably at least 20,000 homes in the last 10, 15 years have been built with that feature. And the industry, the building industry did fight it, and they actually filed suit and lost. And now that they're building the homes and seeing, well, it hasn't risen the cost, they're resellable, they've got a lot of reasons why it's been a good thing. So there are other states that they don't go that far. The counties or the state governments or the town governments may have encouraged the building industry, building supply places to have accessible floor plans available, and to actually show those. When someone comes in to want to build a house, say, would you like to look at our inclusive home design one, because this is and then explain the reasons, you know, that this house is going to be up for a long time, and there may be reason that you have need some time for someone to visit your home, or taking care of a disabled parent or something. So some places they have a voluntary program, and it's the building industry that does it. Wow, what a concept. You're not forcing anybody to do anything, but you're allowing them to know that there is an option. People don't know. If I'm 30 years old and I'm going to build a house and I'm able-bodied, I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about being disabled or wanting someone from my job who's in a wheelchair to visit me. But if someone at the architect or the builder tells me, you know, for a small amount of money more, you could have wider doors, we could have a no-step entrance, and give me the reasons, I would probably go with that, wouldn't I? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
So it's not really a legal bill, it's just making the plans and the options available for builders to see that they can have an inclusive floor plan in place if they chose to.
It's in some building codes. If it's in the building code, then it is. You're legally responsible, and if there's for some reason your particular design won't work with the inclusive features, then there's a waiver clause, and you can apply for a waiver.
Okay, and do you know the specifics about the waiver?
Well, you can look at, there's a nice site online called Concrete Change, and they actually put up you can go there and you can find the actual building codes and what the waiver clauses read. So you can actually find out what they say.
Some exceptions could be if you're building in a flood zone, right? Automatically your home, your lowest floor level is to be above recorded flood levels. Another one would be the basic nature of the site itself, outside of a floodplain. But who wants to build on extreme properties, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, those
would be quite a bit. I mean, I know people have built on the lava lands here and have gotten their house taken out, and they still keep building on.
They still keep building on. That's right.
Yeah.
And it should be clarified that one of the problems why we have so many inaccessible homes is it's not part of fair housing or ADA to build private homes that obey those federal laws. Mm-hmm. They were excluded. So it becomes the responsibility of local governments, state governments to, because they care for the people they're over, to want to make sure that there's equal footing for someone that's disabled to be able to visit a home and rent a home that has those features. Yeah.
Another reason to consider making a home visitable at the beginning of construction is that it takes time to plan making your home accessible or visitable. It takes some time to get a building permit. It takes some time to get the construction in place. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people come to me and they say, oh, my mother just broke her hip. She's staying with us now and the house is 6 feet off the ground. And I'm therefore telling them, well, you're going to have a substantial ramp, or you're going to have to put in an elevator to get your mother up to the first floor, or it's going to take 6 months to get your house renovated and ready. And that's a long time. And so with visitability for new construction, we're dodging that bullet, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Right.
So community within local governments, they can put it into their building and planning county.
They should look at it, and study it. I think what our appeal is, especially on this program, is that to look at, to explore the possibilities and see what would meet the needs of our population on the Big Island for the next generation. Mm-hmm. We have demographics where more and more people are now reaching retirement. And with retirement comes, you know, a decline in oftentimes physically, which requires changes in the way we get around. And so it did make sense to think about the future of our island, not just right now, but to the next generation or two.
So Mar, I know you're fully able-bodied. You're in that age where
At
you're
the
healthy.
moment, yes.
Yes, yes. But you know, you're here as a community activist because you know that this is an important issue to bring up. Why, you know, what?
Well, according to the World Health Organization, there's 650 million people who have some form of disability, and it's growing. When you think about our veterans coming back from war, you think about the rise in kids with disabilities coming up. I think for our local governments to really look out for our best interests, the people that they serve, they really need to think about this issue. So that's why, you know, it's on my mind, and that's why I'm here, to maybe help our local government get enough information so they can back us up on something like this, which is really important.
Right, and make an educated decision about it. And you know, I think from a human perspective, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And at the same time, from the builder's perspective, what benefits could they reap from wanting the building and planning committees or the, you know, departments to say, yes, we're going to do this code, and the builders saying, okay, yeah, we want it to. And so what are benefits that the builders might reap from having a visitable home?
They have a wider market.
Absolutely.
They have a wider market, more people to rent or purchase the homes, and that's value.
Added value. Yeah.
I know, and just as a homeowner, moving to the Big Island, I also had a house in California. It took a few more months to find houses. My husband and I, we would go to different houses, and we would I would wait in the car. He'd peek his head into the bathroom and be like, okay, we're leaving. The bathroom's not big enough. So it was kind of like, we looked probably at 50 houses before we found our home here, which is where we're having the show, and where I'm able to do that because it is a quote-unquote visitable home without us thinking about it because of my situation. But there were a lot of houses we had to say no to because it was just not possible for me to enter the bathroom.
Incredible.
So yeah, you're right. The market, the value that you know, I think a lot of people with disabilities are becoming more financially able to buy homes, if not rent homes. If you're gonna, you know, like you mentioned, Chris, that as a renter, the number of homes that you can live in as a person in a wheelchair is limited.
Very small.
Right.
Percentage of rentals actually have any type of visitability features.
Right.
That would make it easy for you to live there if you're renting.
And oftentimes, I think, you know, we buy a house and maybe down the road we think about renting it. And so that'll open up the value there. Or, like you said, have friends and family over that we are able to help. But so from a builder's perspective, it brings more of a market to it. That's what you're saying. Is there any other benefits for a builder to want to have visitable homes?
It's all about economic incentive.
Are there any tax breaks?
I don't know. I don't think that there would be for this. Yeah.
Okay.
I know if you're a business and you do something for the ADA, there are tax credits, but
Right.
because this isn't covered by ADA, and that's why we make an appeal. We have to make an appeal to governments and to the building industry that, you know, look at this as an option that is a benefit for the people that you serve. Here, culturally, if you look at Hawaii, whatever culture you look at, people like to stay in their homes here. They don't want to go to a care home. I know people who are now in their 70s and 80s that are in a care home because their home out in Lapahoyo or wherever it is inaccessible and they could not stay there anymore.
They're shut-ins, right?
Yeah, they would have to be stuck in their house if they stayed
Right.
there. And they really don't want to be, not that the care homes are bad, but that's not where they choose to be. They want to be home. They want to be where they can see their garden and see their neighbors. So culturally, on our island, people want to stay. Aging in place is an important concept. They want to stay there.
Independent living.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And aesthetically speaking, a visitable home is aesthetic? Is it nice to look at, or?
I would say spacious is a word that we use for aesthetics, right? You always hear about spaciousness, right? And that gives a person a sense of luxury.
Ah.
Right?
So we could maybe not say it's visitable, it's luxurious homes.
Right.
We'll reterm it and then everybody will want to build it.
That's right. That's right. It is a luxury to have 3-foot doors. When we talk about a 32-inch opening, that's 2'8", because of the physical characteristics of a door, the leaf itself will be, if it's a swing door, 36 inches. If it's a sliding door, it'll be 2'8". Those are luxuries, and they're very, very nice. They also give the sense of greater perceived space. So let's suppose the room isn't physically that big. If the openings are big and you don't have as many barriers, like let's say a closet wall by a door, it gives you a sense of perceived spaciousness. That's hard to, it's really hard to define. However, perceived is the nice word. It's an emotional sense, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
It is, it's lovely.
Yes. Maybe we'll just reterm it.
Yeah,
And then
that's
people-
right.
Communities everywhere, the governments everywhere will just want to naturally put it in. I mean, yeah, when people come into my house, they're like, oh my God, it feels so homey, like warm, but it's spacious. I don't have a lot of stuff around.
Right.
So
That's right.
it's, people have said that too.
Here's a nice statistic I've got this is from the Journal of American Planning Association, summer 2008. It's an article called Aging and Disability, Implications for the Housing Industry and Housing Policy in the United States. And listen to this statistic based on their research. 25% to 60% of all homes built now will have, over the lifetime of the house, a resident with a severe long-term mobility impairment. As of 2005, the average cost for 1 year of nursing home care exceeded $64,000 per person per year. That's low compared to Hawaii. We're much higher than that. We're $100,000.
That's a lot.
64% of which is paid with public dollars. So we're going to put people in care homes, and then the government's going to have spending all this money when, had we built maybe visitable homes where people could stay home, and a significant number of these people could have stayed home. That would be really, really nice.
Thank you for sharing those statistics and bringing that to our attention, because I think that not only have we addressed the human reasons or benefits that a visitable home would provide, but economic. As a taxpayer myself, I wouldn't, to be contributing to that much money a year to one person living in a care home when they could easily have lived in their home much more comfortably is staggering. So thank you for bringing that up. Do you want to add anything about that statistic, Mar? Or?
Those are really good information to provide. What we hope to do is put together a presentation that we can begin to present to the community, to different groups, Board of Realtors, County Council, just to plant a seed. That's what we want to do.
I know some states have adopted visitability into their building and planning. Has there been any success, or has there been any statistics around that to show?
Well, again, there are some there because it's still fairly new, right? The concept, and it takes a different shape in different places. In some places, it's only for houses that use any type of government funds. So it's not unless there's state money or something that you have to put these features in. So the stats may not be really totally available yet. But again, you can go to concretechange.org, and they have a lot of stats about construction, about places that have done it, how it's helped the people in that place, how it's affected the building industry. So the information's there.
Okay, so say someone is watching this and they're in a state that has not adopted it, or in a community or county that has not adopted visitability yet. What steps could they take to bring this to the attention of the county or the local government so they can start making those changes?
That's kind of where we are right now, with our grassroots efforts here in Hawaii County.
Yeah, I think that's why we're having this program is a part of trying to create the exploration of the possibilities for the Big Island, and what would work, and not create an opposition, but work together, a team concept.
Yeah.
Right.
The builders, architects, government, and the people that want the homes, and the people who want to visit the homes,
Yeah.
are all on the same vision. This is the vision of the future.
And as an architect, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think approaching any successful and sustainable change has to be done with a team mindset, that we're all on the same side.
Yeah.
It's not an us versus them. It's not about resistance. It's not about opposition. So, you know, I think we have a really good panel here. And so as an architect, what made you say, yes, this is a great idea?
Because it's the right thing to do.
Why is it that?
Architects serve the end user. Architects serve their clients. And it's all about people, and it's all about it being inclusive.
So architecture is not just about doing the coolest, like, weirdest things on a building. It's about actually serving the people that are going to be living there.
Serving the people who are living there. We also create value for our clients and the end user. And again, visitability, making a home visitable, only adds value. It doesn't devalue the project. It only adds value. And that's an exceptional quality. You can still do a fairly avant-garde project and make it visitable.
Yeah, because, you know, my husband brought up the point. He's like, well, what if I was a private home owner and I wanted to build a home, and it was a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom place, and I wanted a foresty creek feel in the bathroom, and you had to step over these stepping stones to get to the toilet. You know, what if I wanted to do that? You know, I guess that's where I want to, you know, we want to get everybody on the same side and everyone on the same team, but there's always going to be those people that want to do something different. And do they have the right to do that? And
yes, they do.
Yeah,
they do have the right to do that. However, stepping stones in the bathroom sounds a
little
worrisome for even an able body,
Then they'll need a visitable home.
Yeah, right. Then they'll need a visible home. But I understand what your husband is talking about, and again, I can only talk about the value of the home in the long run, and the resale value or the rentable value that when you make your home visitable, more people are going to be able to purchase or to rent. Right?
And to visit you.
And to visit you.
Have you had?
I am focusing on the value. That's right.
Yeah. Have you had experiences? I mean, both of you are able-bodied. Have you had experiences where someone that had a disability was not able to?
Well, I think about not yet, but I think about you know, when I become older, and you know, we don't know the future. What if I become disabled tomorrow? My home is on a second-story floor of a property that's really not accessible. So I have to think about that also as a homeowner. What happens if I become disabled?
We bought a Hicks home, which is one of the original package homes here in Hawaii. There's still many up. They're redwood and they're single wall construction, and yeah, they're rather boxy. However, how we renovate our bathroom right now, with the addition of grab bars, our home would be definitely visitable. Yeah, a Hicks home. So if you have a slab-on-grade home, it's easier than, say, if you were living in a home like Mara's talking
Right.
about here up on the second floor in an extreme site.
So, do you have anything to add that you would like to?
Yeah, going back to the movement itself nationwide, in 2005 the U.S. Conference of Mayors actually adopted a resolution promoting inclusive house design. And a number of states have tried to incorporate that. Generally it's for building homes that use government money, as I said earlier. There is a bill in Congress by Jan Schakowsky from Illinois called Inclusive House Design. And she has addressed Congress about this. She has done some of the fact finding. So you can actually go to YouTube and find her testimony in front of Congress. But it's called the Inclusive House Design Bill. Eventually it may become law. Then what? Then what? You know. So we could be ahead of the game because it's something that's going to be happening. It's
Right.
It's going to be with more and more people becoming older and having disability-related issues, and just the growing consciousness of populations that we should be inclusive. It's just a matter of time before we do have federal laws. So the states could be ahead of it, the counties could be ahead of it by making the work easy on themselves now.
Yeah, and the sooner we start, I think the better off we'll be, because then we're not having to remodel a bunch of new
Right.
homes that were just built a couple of years ago, because now we have to make
That's
them
right.
visitable. And there's a point I wanted to bring up. So the older homes then, would that be, they would just be
Grandfathered, yeah.
grandfathered?
Mhm.
So they wouldn't be included?
They would not be under, having to retrofit their home. That's
Okay.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're trying to avoid that.
right.
Do you ever try to widen a door or change a bathroom once the
Right.
house is up and
Oh.
look at your expenses?
Oh my gosh.
And the difficulty of doing that sometimes from a construction point of view.
So this is saving money on the front end and making money on the back end when you resell it. That's good. That's good. Okay, I think I think that we covered visitability and the topic from various perspectives, and we're doing this here in Hawaii County, of trying to appeal to the local government to try to get some of those ordinances passed and implemented. Maybe down the road, as you are being successful in having that complete, we could maybe revisit you and maybe teach other people around the country how to do it. Because if you have a variety of people from all around the United States making those appeals, then maybe it'll make Jan's job from was it Senate or Congress?
She's in the
Congress.
Representative Jan Schakowsky from Illinois.
Yeah, make her job a lot easier. People are already demanding it.
I think that maybe a message for architects and builders is, get out some house plans that are accessible. Look at them. See how much different they would be from what you're using now. And how could you even take the plans you like and modify them to have those three features, and then figure it out for yourself and start thinking about it. I mean, this is the starting ground, is to say, okay, do I have house plans that have those three features in them that I can start offering to people?
Chris, that's actually a very good, that's a good point. So for example, making a small change in a standard bathroom, besides making it wider, which will take some thought. In a standard bathroom, when you walk in, generally the lavatory is the first, with the toilet as the second, followed by the shower or the tub. And in a visitable home, what might happen is that the first piece of equipment is the toilet, then the lavatory, then the tub. What this gives you is a corner condition for placing grab bars. Right? And that's doable, right? That's very doable, just by making that small change. Making the room wider we're not talking about that point right now, but we are talking about how a very simple change of equipment could make a home.
Yeah. And there are books, there are articles that now have floor plans and how you could even adjust a townhouse, build a townhouse that's accessible, different types of bathroom models. There are designs You know, there's been at least 40,000 homes built with accessibility features in the last 10 to 20 years.
40,000?
At least 40,000.
Across the United States?
Across the United States, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably half of them in Arizona.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of retirement communities in Arizona, and that's probably why it's centralized there quite a bit. So, you know, I think that we could, you're doing it here in Hawaii County. Other states have already accomplished it. So there's ways that we can tap into resources or ways about going to do this stuff successfully, and where everyone's happy. It's a win-win-win situation all around, and those are the situations I love.
Good point.
Yes, yes. So if there's anything else that you want to add, we'll probably be closing the show.
Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Always
Yes.
a pleasure to hang out with you.
Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, Pauline. And always remember that a visitable home is a luxurious home.
Yes, it is.
Always.
Yes, exactly. So hopefully that this show has been enlightening to you. If you're a person with a disability, it's encouraging to know that things are happening so that way we are more included, not just only in public buildings, but in private homes, and we will be able to participate in all aspects of life. If you're a builder or an architect, how exciting that you'll be able to start building luxury homes where the end user is really served and will all be able to benefit, and it, again, have a win-win situation all around. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until we meet again, be blessed.